Alright, what's going on everyone out there on YouTube? NES Ruler, and welcome to a brand new review. And this time around we'll be checking out a film that was sent to me review by Unearthed Films, and you can pick this up on Blu-ray at all your favorite online retailers. It is a film from the year 2001. It is a toe tag picture, and you can probably guess what it is. It's Fred Fogel's August Underground. So this movie is a staple classic in the underground hardcore horror community. And this film, when I first got started doing videos in the late 2000s, early 2010s, hardcore horror films were all the rage here on the platform. You know, everybody was making movies or making videos about their hardcore horror collection and what they were watching when it related to hardcore films. Now, my young self, my 16 to 18-year-old self, kind of got into this world as well, starting to watch some of these hardcore films because that was the cool thing to do at the time. Now, as I'm approaching 30, I go back and I think as I watch films like this that, you know, hardcore movies really aren't for me. I'm not a huge fan about the hardcore underground horror films that came out during the 2000s and into early 2010s. Luckily, the fad of hardcore horror films have kind of fell to the wayside. It's still there, but I feel like the community has kind of more shifted into the more typical narrative art house film, mainly because of labels like A24 and things like that. So, you know, we've really kind of shifted away from the extremely gnarly stuff like this film and some other movies, Slaughter Vomit Dolls and some other movies that came out. I'm sorry I said that name. I know that guy's done horrible things, but I had to mention it because it was one of the most, you know, prominent films when I was getting into watching indie horror films. So August Underground, you know, I've never watched any of these films. This is the first time I've watched these movies, which I know it's kind of a shame, but for a long time, you know, you had to get them directly from Fred on Toe Tag's website, so it wasn't the easiest series to get into and to watch. But now that he's partnered with Unearthed Films, he's going to release the original trilogy here on Blu-ray with these nice special limited edition collector's editions, and this is the first one here. So, what do I think about my first watch with August Underground? Well, I think my mindset about me not being into hardcore horror films still apply. I mean, this movie, I'll give Fred credit that he did revolutionize a lot of stuff when it came to the hardcore underground film scene. I definitely think he added a lot to it, and you could definitely see that he had chops. But this movie's just not for me. It really doesn't have too much of a plot. It's just a torture scene, a little bit of a filter scene, another torture scene, another filter scene, another torture scene, another filter scene. And this, at this point in my life, I've seen so many messed up movies that when I was sitting here watching this film, I was just going, all right, this is fine. You know, I've seen this a couple times, millions of times in this point in other films. So it's just like, okay, I get it. But then you have to remind yourself in 2001, a lot of people probably weren't doing very hardcore stuff like you do in this film. So basically you follow a serial killer and his buddy. The serial killer is named Peter, and he just goes around and he murders people while his buddy is behind the camera filming. And we never learn who his buddy's name is. We never see him or anything like this, but we just follow Peter's day-to-day life as he goes around and he captures people and he basically murders them in horrific ways. Our main woman, she is tied to a chair in the basement, and he does awful things to her. He tortures her, you know, cuts off body parts, makes her eat crap and things like that. Stuff that at this point in my life, like I said, I've seen a million times, and it really doesn't do too much for me. But, you know, like I said, you have to just put yourself in the time period. Now, this is shot in a found footage style. So, you know, it's very handy cam, shaky, zooming in and out, not very clear, things like that you would expect from a post-Blair Witch found footage film. But, you know, the effects do shine in this film. They look really great. You know, Fred and Toe Tag are known for their effects. So I give them credit there. You know, the film does have really good effects. But besides that, it really didn't do much for me. I wish there was a little bit more of a narrative, but there's not. And the last, like, 12 minutes of the film just doesn't really do much for me. I mean, I wish the film ended in a little bit of a more interesting way. That party scene at the end of this film, if you've seen it, it is just trying to be exploitative, and I feel like it doesn't really do much to advance the little narrative that is there. But I'm happy that I finally had a chance to see this one because, like I said, it's a bit of a classic in the time period that I started getting into these independent horror films. And this is, just, again, really nice release, packed here from Unearthed Films. There is the cover. Don't think I could show the back, but, you know, a lot of stuff on this one that I can't show because of the movie is pretty hardcore, and the back has that in there. So a lot of features in this. We have a new commentary track by Fred and Ultraviolent Magazine, another commentary track with Fred with some of the actors, another commentary track by Fred itself, and then we have a brand new featurette where Fred answers some questions about the making of the film and the history of how this film came to be. And then you have a toe tag masterclass, which is like about effects and things like that. Really interesting featurette. And then from storyboards to screen, another featurette about how this film came to be. Then there's another featurette about locations, and then a behind the scenes, and then there is a interview here with Mr. Parka, a good friend here on the YouTube universe, a staple in the classic YouTube horror community. So just a lot of stuff on here that Unearthed Films have put. There's a lot more features on this. It takes up pretty much half the back of the slipcase, so there's just a boatload of features. So if you guys are interested in August Underground and learning more about Toe Tag and Fred, then you definitely should check out this release. I'm interested to see the sequels. You know, I've heard they're more the same, but at least they add more characters and try to up the ante a little bit more with the messed up things that happen in it. So very happy to finally see this. Like I said, it's not really my cup of tea, but I appreciate it for what it did for the community and how it helped advance a certain section of the community, which, you know, I don't really fit in with, but, you know, I appreciate what it did. So that is my review of August Underground from the year 2001. If you guys like this review, please give it a thumbs up. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/NESRoad22. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and I shall talk to you guys later. See you guys.